and welcome to the Warren Files. I'm your host, Chris McKinnell, and tonight, among other things, we're going to be talking about the 7 major chakras. I will admit to you, I know very little about this. It's not something that I personally deal with in my work. It's something I'm interested in, and luckily, I've got somebody wonderful that I can turn to. I've got a lot of wonderful people I can turn to, but tonight, we are going to be talking to a dear friend of mine, an amazing psychic medium, and he's going to tell you the difference between those two things, and a great colleague, George Lindsay, George the Medium. George, welcome to the show, and thank you very much for being here today. I'm going to be relying on you heavily through this program.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for having me on your show.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started? You know, what is it that brought you into this odd world?
So I, like many people, was gifted as a child, but my story being different, I don't remember anything about that. My mum then told me stories when I kind of told her that I was a medium. And so she was telling me all of these stories. Up until the age of 9, I had all these friends. I have a big family, house is busy, I'm in the room with my friend that no one else can see, and my mum just put it down to imaginary friend until I started to tell her quite spooky things that would happen, or I'd meet friends with my mum and then say, you know, it's a shame her dad's in the spirit world, or that her dad's in heaven is what I would always call it, and it kind of freaked my mum out. At the age of 9, it seemed to leave, and my great-grandmother unfortunately passed away when I was 18, and 4 weeks to the day she was at the base of my bed. And this will show my age. I had this spring-based spring mattress bed, and I felt this movement of someone standing up, and I lived on my own. Kind of don't realise why I wasn't scared, but, you know, I turned and she was there. So me being like the person that I am, I want to know more. Am I dreaming? Am I not? I get up out of bed and walk towards her. And as I walk towards her, she kind of just disappears. It's probably the clearest manifestation of the spirit world with my physical eyes that I've ever seen in my life. Kind of from that day, Chris, she switched the switch on, and I started to receive all of these strange impressions, and I really did think I was going kind of off my head. Went to the doctor, told the doctor, I can see dead people. And the doctor's like, straight to the psychiatric hospital. So that was my initial experience, thinking that I'm crazy and not that I'm a medium. And I know many people have this painful battle with understanding it all. So I spoke to a friend and I said, you know, I realized this really strange image in my head kept appearing every time she was over. And this image then made so much sense to her because unfortunately her uncle had took his life to the spirit world, and this image was so specific to the family. So she actually encouraged me to speak about what I was seeing, and unknown to me at that point, this was all my clairvoyant vision coming into play. And then I started to do readings, and I used to be like a crazy person, holding people's hands with my eyes closed and willing for something to happen and not knowing what was going to happen. And then it was just about really gaining the understanding of how the spirit world worked. And that kind of led me on my path to now 20 years later, working with some wonderful people and understanding the blessing of spirit communication and psychic information, because that's the part that many people don't know about.
You know, I didn't mention this, by the way, for anybody who's interested. George is actually in Scotland, and I'm still in Brazil. But in about a month's time, I will be in Scotland with George and with Catherine Sorlos. And I think that's going to make for a lot more fun for you folks. I think we're going to be going out on a lot of adventures as long as we're not in lockdown again. Having said that, I think even in lockdown, though, we can get out to some of these remote locations where there aren't any people, so it'll still be safe. And don't forget, you are watching the Spirit Realm Network. Please like and share these programs so that we can reach out and help more people. And if you do miss any of our programs, you can always go to the Warren Files YouTube channel. That's the Warren Files YouTube channel, and find us there. All right, so we're going to be talking about chakras, and I want to make this clear, a little shout out We're doing this for my goddaughter, Trinita, in India. She has a real interest in chakras, and so I thought, why not? Let's learn about this together. So chakras come from Hindu philosophy, and they originated somewhere between 2,500 and 3,500 years ago. The word chakra actually means center, as in center of energy, and they run along the spine of your body, from the tailbone up above your head. There are 7 main chakras, but there are up to 114 other total chakras. We're just going to be talking about the top 7, the main ones. We'll also talk about the various crystals that resonate with each of these chakras. You can work with your chakras through meditation, crystals, ritual, Reiki. There are many different ways. Now, having said that, George has his own way of working with chakras, and that's because of who he is and what his abilities are, and we're going to be talking about that as well. So, George, why don't we talk first about the root chakra? Where is that located?
So the best way to understand where that is it kind of just at the base of the tailbone. So if you visualize that being the center, and all the chakras, if you envision them as pure circles. I know that many people like to visualize them as they're opening the chakra or awakening the energy, like a flower opening up, is a really good way to start that visualization. And the root chakra is really important for grounding. That's super important.
Now, the root chakra is all about well, the color is red. Each of the chakras correlate to a different color and to a number of different crystals. The root chakra, for instance, hematite and red jasper are 2 of the different crystals, but there are others. And it deals with your basic survival needs and your physical, emotional needs and your belief systems. We'll get into how to work with these and how to cleanse them. The whole idea is, if you think of chakras as, if you think of your body as energy running all through it, like different roads of energy, the chakras are the major intersections. And if there's a blockage there, then you need to work on those to clear them so that the energy flows more cleanly, and it'll help both your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. When there's a blockage, it will manifest as illness of some sort. Right?
Yep. And many people have to remember that when they're often coming to people like us for advice or support, there's so much work they can do just with the chakras alone. You know, the root chakra's main focus is for grounding. So you imagine that the power of that chakra igniting that energy, you're grounding yourself, especially if you're working psychically or mediumistically. You really want to make sure you have that focus in seeing the chakras as this pure straight line all the way up. And so the way that I do that as a medium is I ignite the chakras, offering each of these, the symbology of them, to the spirit world, so that then I know that I've done my part by saying to them, I offer myself, you know, for grounding, because I keep myself planted and secure and kind of connecting to that earth energy is really what's important with that root chakra. The sacral chakra, if we move up one, is wonderful for just below the navel. That's the best place, and that color there is an orange kind of color. And again, seeing that as we open that from the root chakra blending to the sacral chakra, and that opening like a flower, it's for like fertility and sexuality and creativity. And again, all of those things with that energy, as you build up from the root to the sacral, it really starts to ignite, and you start to feel that stir of energy quite strongly moving forward.
It's the center of your emotional life and the expression of your emotions, and it is very sexual as well, and that creative urge. And that's what is that? Orange calcite?
Yes.
And trying to remember, carnelian. Those are 2 of the different crystals that you can use. Again, these are not the only ones, and if you're interested in working with crystals and your chakras, please do some of your own research. One of the things that we learned, or I learned, I'm not going to put words in George's mouth, is that there are so many different ones, and some of them are interchangeable. So you want to use the crystal that resonates with you. That's really important. And when you're using them, before and after you use them, please cleanse them with cold running water so that you're working with a fresh crystal that's well aligned. And we'll get into how to use the crystals afterward. So after we've worked with the sacral chakra, what's the next one up?
Solar plexus, which is this color gold, and it's really in the center of the tummy. So if you imagine just below the kind of the bridge bone there, and that's
right below the rib cage.
Yeah, sorry, that was the word I was trying to find. Thank you. And that is really for the central power. That's your focus, all of the power that feeds from that. Kind of like the powerhouse of which stores all the ego and self-confidence, self-esteem. All of that energizes from there. Those gut feelings that we have as sensitives, as people, all come from that solar plexus. And so again, if I was working as a medium and building my power to work with the spirit world, I would be blending the root chakra to the sacral chakra into the solar plexus and seeing them open and all of them merging together as we build up through each chakra.
So the solar plexus is your energy powerhouse. That's the center of your energy, where your ego is stored, your self-confidence, your self-esteem, and I guess your sense of self altogether.
And that gut feeling is so something that people speak about often, and they don't know where, like, oh, this gut feeling and this intuition, if you want to call it, and it's all from this solar plexus and this energy center. And so working with that and really, really resonating with that, you'll get a sense of that feeling. Something you mentioned about being aware, Chris, that popped into my mind of what chakra resonates with you in a particular time. I would often I would have the chakra stones laid out in a row on my hand towards up my arm, if you would say, and I would kind of just close my eyes and running my hands over slowly and feeling this pulse or resonance or this heat coming from the stone. Then I would know which stone, which correlates with the color and the order of the chakras, that I would be being used and need to work on or help amplify. That's a really, really nice tool.
That's what, yeah. You know, Catherine Sorlos was talking to me too about how when she goes into a store that sells crystals, she puts her hand over the crystals until she feels the one that feels right to her.
You can always spot a spooky person when in a store like that with their eyes closed, waving their hands over things. That's how you spot someone who's spiritually connected, because that's the one way that we all do it. We all have our eyes closed, waving our hands like we're casting a spell from Harry Potter.
It's a bit of divination in a way.
It really is, yeah, definitely. It's using those senses, though. So many people don't realize that all of this energy centers within our body, and our soul's purpose is, this energy center is connecting with you, and you want to make sure you're connecting with the right energy and the right crystals as well.
And so the next one up is your heart chakra, which is green, and normally I've noticed that the rose quartz seems to be the one that people mention the most for working with this particular chakra, but there is a green aventurine is also mentioned.
And it's
so what is this responsible for?
Sure, love, passion, emotion, feeling, everything to do with with feelings that you can understand and imagine, all resonates from the heart chakra. And it's interesting working with people when they're developing, and they often see the color red resonate, think, oh goodness, I need to work, with love and passion. And actually, they mistake the red because it's actually for the root chakra, and then the green, they automatically go grit, envy, money, that kind of idea. But actually, then it's the heart chakra that we're using. And again, as the medium, we would work through these chakras symbology and igniting that energy, because then I'm offering to the spirit world, I'm willing for that love and that passion and emotion to come forward from the spirit world, so we have that perfect blending, if that makes sense.
And this is also the center for healing?
Oh goodness, yeah. Well, you think about emotion, you think about all of the emotion, and the purpose of doing our work, we want to heal. We want to heal the hearts and the soul of the person in front of us, and the people in the spirit world want to blend and give that love and healing to their loved ones. I can only speak from my point of view as a medium. But it's all about healing. You all heal this feeling. It's all about healing and understanding.
And how would you personally work with the heart chakra for healing? Is that something you do?
Yeah, so I tend to, for me personally, what I would do, or what I would do with clients or students. What do you mean?
What is it? Both.
Okay, so me personally, if I want to work on the heart chakra and focus on that emotion and feeling, I honestly think the best thing is the most joyous piece of music, and I would put on the happiest songs that I know. Some things that are really upbeat, vibrant, and I would close my eyes and I would focus my visualization and my vision to see the heart chakra and feel it expanding. Again, using the visualization of the mind to open it up like a flower and see it filling my body all around. And then that's me really feeling the resonance of the heart chakra and being aware. And it brings me into a happier place full of joy, because love is really about joy. It's all about that warmth. Working with students, it's the same thing, but getting them to really focus on that visualization and feeling joy. Because quite often people who come to us, clients, students, anyone in life, we all have sadness, we all have heartache, we all have pain in different levels. So my job is to focus that love and that healing of the heart chakra and expanding it through the body. It kind of feels like a rush on a roller coaster, to be honest, when you're taking someone on that journey, because you're filling their body with joy, really blaring quite loudly, happy, joyful music. You know, stuff that really makes you smile. Quite often other students would get up and dance, because after they've seen this visualization in their mind feel, they kind of want to move, and it's almost quite strange to see them sitting, you know, maybe in a circle and, oh, cute. And then he
makes an appearance every show.
He's the real star. And all of this excitement and this energy filling in the circle, and they're all blending together. And then they want to dance. So what more than people who are coming with pain and it's just joy? People don't realize the power of doing things that are happy. You know, they always say, go for a walk. Yeah, go for a walk with music in and sing your heart out on a mountain. Whether you can sing or not, just be joyful, because that really helps this sensitive part, especially when we talk about empaths later.
Now, you mentioned students and clients, and we didn't make this clear. George is a professional medium. Not only is he a member of the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research, but he does this for a living. Something you need to understand about mediums, folks, it takes a lot out of them. It's an energy drain for them. So if you have an actual medium, not one of these fly-by-night gypsy fakes, but a true person who's giving of themselves like that, you have to understand why they do charge, because it does take a lot from them. George, if people wanted to get a hold of you for a private reading, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, thank you. Two ways. So social media, you can search me on Facebook or Instagram. Instagram at George the Medium, and Facebook is just facebook.com/George the Medium. And my website is georgemedium.com. And what maybe is important to mention is that my readings are mediumistic. So I communicate with the spirit world. I don't do fortune telling. I don't do anything to do with divination, or I don't talk about your health or your wealth or your career or your job. I talk to people in the spirit world, giving us proof of eternal life. So I will give you facts and evidence, kind of known as an evidential medium. My job is to provide you evidence of the spirit world. And what that does is give you the understanding that we live on, but that your loved ones are there, and they'll tell me facts.
So before we move on with our chakras, why don't we define the difference between a medium and a psychic?
Sure. So a medium is someone that speaks to the spirit. So there are two. Every medium is psychic, but not every psychic is a medium, and that's where there's a difference. Mediums communicate with the spirit world, and the blending comes from behind, so you'll feel the spirit world come in if you have connected properly and built the power and blended, and the spirit world will come forward, your mum, your dad, your brother, sister, and they will give me facts and evidence about their life that I would never know. Now, something that's important to remember is if they cared for you and loved you when they were here in the physical life, they will still do this so in the spirit world. So of course they're going to give you the guidance. Maybe you're going through a big change, or you're trying to buy this house and you've been saving for 10 years. If they would give you advice while they were here, of course they're going to give you it in the spirit world. Psychics are soul to soul. So psychic energy always comes from in front. So we're linking soul to soul. Imagine everything that's in your life is in the auric field. So there's a blending and outpouring and inpouring psychically as well as mediumistically. But psychically, if you want to think about all your information in the auric field like Braille, where someone would read some Braille, they would feel the bits on the paper. As a psychic, all of your life's imprint is on your auric field, so we sense that. With an outpouring and inpouring of the energy, I would pick up traumas in your life, the joys, the loves, the passions, everything that's ever happened to you is there. That's why psychics, we can pick up things about your life currently as well as traumas in the past, but we have the ability to clairvoyantly get glimpses of the future. But you have the choice. You can decide to go out the door today and go left instead of right and change that path. Now, there are monumental building blocks in life that we can't avoid. And also we have free will, remember. So you may decide to go left instead of right, but you'll still meet that big building block at some point. You've just chosen a different path to get there.
Right.
Remember, psychics will talk about fortune and talk about you and your life. Mediums will connect with the spirit world. But as I said, every medium is psychic, but not every psychic is a medium.
Right. In other words, every police officer is a first responder, but not every first responder is a police officer. Same idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you mentioned the auric field. You're talking about that aura of energy that's around every person.
Yeah. So I always imagine it like we had an advert here in the UK, the Ready Break advert, when someone ate their it's like porridge and they would have a glow around them. I always tell people to envision like this glow or the waves of the heat on the ground that you can see. That's like this outline all the way around us. And this is this energy field that emanates around us, kind of linking in with the chakras. The way that I see it is that it blends out. So everything that happens, you know, when we met Chris in New York and we had lunch that day and we sat and we chatted for hours and all of that exchange and we had a good laugh, that moment will be there. So a good psychic would be able to pick up, you know, you have a friend and he's Scottish and his name is George, or, you know, because that's imprinted on your life as a moment, as well as, you know, your children or family or, you know, your grandparents, for example. All of that memory is there. It's all imprinted, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. We deal with psychic imprints in my part of the paranormal world as well. You know, people who have traumatic experiences will leave an imprint on a place that a psychic or a sensitive will pick up. That's why you hear the rattling of chains from the dungeon. It doesn't mean that there's actually a ghost there. It just means there's a psychic impression, or what some people call residual hauntings. It's not a spirit. It's just an impression left. And it leaves a better impression on stone than it does on less durable materials. So,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's quite sad for people that don't have an understanding of their ability and they move into a new home and they think their home is haunted, but actually their sensitive abilities is picking up on that layer of the cake, that residual energy, and so they're picking up the trauma that happened in a home. And so sometimes they start, you know, feeding it that energy. Their fear builds, and their own psychic energy is amplifying that without them even realizing. And it's not actually an actual haunting. It's just that there's this residual energy being fed also by the person's own psychic abilities.
That's a great point. Thank you for sharing that. And so circling back to that auric field, would we say that this is a manifestation of the chakras?
I believe so. In my own opinion, I feel it's you can see the colours of the aura, and I often think, okay, that person has an emotional issue. So there's a lot of green there, and they're going through they're going through some pain, or there's a lot of reds emanating from them, and they need more grounding or more focus and things like that. So in my opinion, I feel the auric field and the chakras kind of really go hand in hand. But I don't feel that I would ever tap into the chakra of someone to read, that's all in the auric field. It's kind of like just grabbing in from it. It's wonderful because when you blend well, you're kind of sharing your energy with that person. And the auric field, you can pick up so much. Imagine when you shake someone's hand, or you brush past someone, or you sit beside someone on the bus and you think, this person, you feel sad all of a sudden. You're picking up from their aura, you're picking up from that energy field. And there's wonderful, if you can focus your energy well, there's a great exercise that I do with students as well, just using the feeling of my hand and your hand and building up the awareness of the energy field. And you can actually feel the vibration between our hands. And it's a wonderful exercise to get people aware of that auric field. But it stores information, if you want to think of it as a memory bank.
And we're about halfway through. So I'm just going to say, folks, please remember to like and share the Spirit Realm Network. Please go and check out the Warren Legacy Foundation on Facebook. Check out George the Medium on Facebook. And we will be right back in a few seconds after this message from the Spirit Realm Network.
At Community First Credit Union, there's a lot to see. We build customized financial solutions so you can enjoy the life you want. We make it comfortable to have a conversation about what's important to you, like helping you stay on course to reach your savings goal. And what's important to us all, like helping to support causes that count. See for yourself what See First can do for you.
Book your next investigation at the haunted 1889 McIntyre Villa, Atchison's most haunted location. Check out 1889mcintyrevilla.com and reserve now.
And we're back to the Warren Files. I want to thank you all for being with us this evening. And I want you to know this is a pre-recorded episode, as they all are now. But hopefully the chat room is working and I'm in there answering your questions. And maybe if we're lucky, George is there as well. I know he's got some plans on Saturday, so he might not be able to join us because it's pretty late in Great Britain at this time. So we've just done the heart chakra. And we've touched a little bit on how psychic energies affect psychics and empaths. We're going to get into that a little more later on. So now we're at the throat chakra.
Yeah.
And this is the chakra, if I understand it correctly, this is where spirit communication starts?
Yeah. So it's the color blue.
Okay.
It represents the color blue. And something, just as I remember at crystals, Chris, because it popped into my mind, you mentioned crystals earlier. I'm sorry to deviate slightly. There is an amazing book for anyone who wants to know about crystals, and it's called The Crystal Bible. And
oh, that's right.
Phenomenal, the information that it holds, and it really gives you a wide variety of different crystals that you can use for different ways in your life. I carry out some in my pocket every day and interchange what I need.
And now the throat chakra, and again, that's the crystal Bible, but the throat chakra, the two crystals that I've seen mentioned the most are sodalite and lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli is one of my two favorite stones. That other is malachite, which unfortunately I haven't seen as useful with chakras. Tell us, especially for you, now we're getting into the far more spiritual parts of the chakras as we work our way up to the crown and the third eye in the crown. So tell us a little bit more about this and how you work with it and what it means.
So when I get to the throat chakra, this is really they're all very important, but this is the real beginning of the proper blending in my way. Again, opening like a flower, using that visualization, seeing that circle build and each one blending into the next, opening that throat chakra, and I offer it for voice, clarity, communication, wisdom, and the ability to really say to the spirit world, I give you my voice as you give me yours. And it's that understanding of now this is the part where the exchange happens. Obviously, when we move up, there's a lot more complex ways of understanding the blending. But this voice is so vital because it's all focused here. Some people who actually do, spirit communication, the word has just escaped me there, but they actually build an etheric voice box. When they're doing trance work, that's it. And they would build an etheric voice box. And the spirit world, this takes a lot of focus. It's slightly different from us mediums, but there's a wonderful thing where the voice is actually extended. And so you will hear communication coming, and actually the person's mouth will be closed. And the spirit would use the resonance of the voice box to build this etheric voice box and start to resonate sound. Or sometimes there'll be a trumpet, a spiritual trumpet on the table, and the medium's mouth would be closed in the trance state, and the voice would imagine it coming from here but resonating through the spiritual trumpet. I kind of went a little bit sideways with the voice, but it's another way of looking at it.
I've never seen that, never even heard about that. That's fascinating. I would love to see that.
There's
so
some
would we say that this is a form of physical mediumship?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's some wonderful places in Scotland when you get here that we can go to that do some wonderful trance work. And it is a phenomenal focus of, people forget, Chris, that being a psychic or a medium or sensitive, you have to really, really dedicate yourself to this. Some of these people would sit for 10 years with nothing happening, and then things would start to, happen in that way. But it's all working through dedication. So as you're opening this chakra, this voice, it shows you how far you can actually go if you dedicate yourself. And some people listen to a meditation CD, open their chakras, the next thing they want to be a medium. And they have no understanding or experience. And I'm just saying that this is one way of if you dedicate so well, then these people really do it just for the pleasure of the spirit world. And that's the joy.
And here's something I need to talk about a little bit with you. When you're opening yourself up like this, and I know you deal with spirit and you deal with very, very positive energies, but there are negative energies out there as well. So before we get into the last two chakras, how do you suggest people protect themselves? And we're not going to talk about empaths yet. We're going to get into that after. I'm talking about specifically people who want to open themselves up to spirit, because as anybody who's ever watched any of my programs already knows, I believe, and my grandparents always believed, that spirit communication is incredibly dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. It is a very slippery slope. And if you're not very careful, you can create an attachment. And if you're not in the right mindset, you're going to attract something negative instead of something positive. So what is it you suggest to help people so that they are more balanced, more centered? I mean, I think right there, I've already said one of the things, which is when you're working with chakras, you're not just working with one chakra, are you? You have to balance them. Is that fair?
Absolutely. So for me, I don't have to worry about kind of protection and opening, closing kind of stuff. I mean, I do my power building and that's it. I don't need to close it because I've dedicated 20 years to this. When I started out and what I developed and learned from other mediums, and I kind of grabbed bits from everyone, tried it out and seeing if it worked. But I know I'm very conscious of people doing things that can, using a Ouija board or a spiritual trumpet or scribing and not knowing and calling out to anything, or sitting with a camera phone and doing so and calling out for things to happen. Like you say, you're opening doors. As someone who wants to center themselves, I always say, whether you're laying down or you're sitting, visualize beneath your feet from the energy centers of the earth, this stirring of white light. And I always say to students, because my mind goes crazy, if I think of a bubble, I start to see holes in it because my mind is too busy. And then what I do is I see this white light come up like a tent, and I just zip up. And I right up to the top. And so when that zip goes up, I know that I'm kind of building that protection. It's good to kind of do this regularly. I would say 2 or 3 times a week to become aware of that energy, and obviously seeing the chakras as you visualize after you've zipped the zip up, seeing the chakras open and blending around. I would say that when you're zipping yourself up, you're also saying to the divine spirit or the God source or whatever you want to call it, or the God. It's all the same at the end of the day, because it's part of this wonderful place in the spirit world where they all communicate. I always say to students, speak to the divine source, divine spirit. I ask that you accept my thanks for allowing me to be your messenger of love. And if you will protect me as I walk forward on my journey, please understand that I will do this with a pure heart and a pure mind as you protect me and guide me as I go forward. And if anyone wants
I think this is really important. What you're saying is all about focused visualization, asking for protection, and making sure that your intentions are pure and clear. This is exactly what I preach when I talk about why prayer works, why the white light works, why any ritual is necessary, because they focus your intention and make it clear what you want. And this is all, for me, this is all quantum physics at work. This is all shaping the energy of the universe and letting reality know what you want from it so that you're not being hurt by it. And you're also opening yourself up because you're really nothing to the rest of reality. You're only a reflection of that. This is really metaphysical, and this is why I love this work in this world that we live in, because there's so much more to reality than bricks and mortar.
Yep.
The third eye, which is insight and clarity.
Clairvoyance.
Tell us, I'm sorry?
Clairvoyance. Yeah, so that the third eye is located right here, and just above the kind of center of your forehead, kind of right in this spot. And some people, when they're using the crystals that associate to that, they will lay down and they'll have the crystal on here and feel the energy of that resonating. The third eye is kind of purple in color, amethyst or blue aventurine, I believe it's pronounced. And
yes, aventurine, or there was another one. Oh, no, you said it.
Amethyst. Yeah. So clairvoyant vision is the window. It is your TV, your YouTube video, your screen of the mind, where we see the visualizations from the spirit world, but also clairvoyant vision can be used psychically also, because the soul will speak through and project the image onto the clairvoyant vision, or the medium will drop the thought into the mind and projecting it onto the clairvoyant vision. Now, all of that is, mental mediumship, the same as spirit communication is. So as the spirit world communicate to me, they drop the thought into my mind. The clear cognizance, or clear knowing as it's now called, sorts the information out and projects the image onto my mind. So I'll give you an example. If there is a man who is a shoemaker and he is the father of the woman I'm reading for, I don't know nothing about making shoes, but he may drop that thought of shoes, and in my mind I can see, the leather and the laces and the bolts at the bottom that hold the leather shoes together. And so that information, as it's dropped in as a thought, is then projected onto that third eye. And so what I always do is, if I have a still image of a shoe, I just ask the spirit world to start to play that image. And I start to see the shoe being put on the little metal thing that they hammer it round. I don't know the actual name. And so that is the clairvoyant vision, is the screen of the mind. And so as a medium, when I built the chakras up to this point, I symbolically lift back the veil, and then I'm ready to go once I get to the crown chakra. And so I've pulled back this curtain, almost like the movie screen curtain or the theatre curtain, to watch the information be projected. And once I'm done, which is very important, I drop the curtain back down and I gently just quieten my chakras down. I don't close them, I just quieten them down. And then that would be the way that I would say anyone would close, because I know a moment ago we spoke about opening up. So there's a really good thing to dedicate yourself to quieting things down and just dropping that veil back down again, if that makes sense.
So we've only got about 15 more minutes left, and we're on our last chakra, which is the crown chakra. Now, this is a chakra that isn't actually part of your body, is it?
No.
And it's represented by a number of different colors, I discovered, either white light or gold light or even violet light.
And clear, yeah. It's like almost a translucent.
But it's a very holy light.
Yeah, and it sits just in the center, just above the head. So it's kind of, if you imagine this golden, clear, violet ball, and that's the connection to the divine. So when I get to that, excuse me, I see this beam of light reaching to the spirit world, and it's almost this blending where their energy entwines with mine. And so at that point, I know that I'm there, and I've used that chakra to blend, and I'm ready to work, if you want to call it that. For anyone that's not a medium and just wants to use the chakras and the symbology of that, it's a really good thing to work with if you're a psychic or an empath, because you're focusing and becoming aware of the energy. And each of them, as they have this representation, is really important. There's so much knowledge in the crown chakra, so much. It's all about knowledge and power.
Well, first off, this is clear quartz, and just like with the third eye, it could also be amethyst.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, if you're using amethyst for the third eye, would you suggest not using amethyst for the crown chakra, or vice versa?
I would alternate in either way. I would use something different and just feel where I would need it more. I have an amethyst tip, so it's an amethyst on one end and a clear quartz kind of at the other, and I use that daily when I'm doing my readings. That's the one, my go-to crystal. If I'm doing a theatre demonstration, that bad boy's in my hand, because that's my focus, because it's bringing me connection to both.
And let's talk a little bit more about this, because the crown chakra, it's the source of divine inspiration. It's your connection with the divine energy, with the universe. This is that connection with God. However God is perceived by you, that's what the chakra, that is what the crown chakra is for, correct?
Yeah, so that divine, the God source, however you, as you say, you want to call it, it's that final link, which is why I see this entwining, this connection, especially, as I say, from my point of view as a medium, it's that link, it's that getting that actual, when you feel that, I can only say the joy that it brings. When you feel that blending with the spirit world and you feel that divine, you really feel you're part of that. You're connected to the God source. You really are.
You know, and anybody who wants to get help with their chakras, a Reiki master, and please do a little homework. Make sure that you're dealing with somebody who's reputable, has a good reputation. But a Reiki master is very, very good with working with your chakras. Having said that, if somebody wants to use the crystals, there's a very simple way to work with the crystals, all 7 crystals, to help you align and make your chakras flow properly. How would they go about doing that, George? Excuse me, sorry, I was my dog was acting very strange. I do apologise. I was wondering what was wrong with her, because the poor soul's unwell. Could you say that to me again, Chris? I do apologise. If somebody wants to work with crystals to align and clear their chakras, how do they do that? What is the simple way to work with these crystals, all 7 crystals at once? Really easy. Great references on YouTube, and I would watch quite a number of these to understand what crystal correlate. Lots of online stores will sell chakra crystals, and each of them will represent to each place. I would say lie on the floor and taking each associated crystal and laying it on your body all the way up. And obviously remembering the crown goes above the head there. And some people like to use meditative music, some relaxing music. I like to use energizing music because I want to ignite the chakras and really connect with my chakra points. So I would put on some really upbeat music, or maybe sit with a singing bowl music in the background, because the sound resonance connects with the chakras also. Yes. And there's certain singing bowls that actually are tuned to resonate with that actual chakra. So there's some wonderful music on YouTube as well also you could get. And just using that visualization as you're lying with the crystals, expanding each one of those,
And seeing all these colours merge together and blending with the body is how I would do it and how I recommend students to do so.
And, you know, for me, I know that you can just lay them there and work on your breathing and relax for 10 or more minutes, and definitely do it at least for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I find that if you're going to do anything, the visualization helps. I know some masters say you don't have to do it. I believe, and my recommendation is that visualization helps to activate the proper intention and helps the energy flow, because we are energy. Everything about you is energy. There's nothing, the physical world is an illusion. It is merely energy when you get to the subatomic. So that's really important. The mind should be an active participant in what you're trying to accomplish here. That's my belief.
Correct. I agree.
So let's talk about empaths a little bit, because I get requests from people constantly who are overwhelmed by the energies they pick up every day. As a matter of fact, even you recently had an experience that you shared with us, where you had a reading. Why don't you talk a little bit about that without obviously giving any specifics away?
Sure. I had a reading with a client that was going through a very traumatic personal experience, and it was not anything to do with spiritual, but she'd been unfortunately looking for many answers from other people and come to me, and my spirit communication, she got some beautiful evidence, and she got who she was looking for. She didn't get told what she wanted to hear that had been kind of repeated by these other psychics or fortune tellers. And I feel possibly some of them had done her some harm. So when she came to me, her 45-minute appointment was then 2.5 hours. And unfortunately, the next two clients that I was having to deal with, they were sitting waiting, wondering what was going on. And she was in such an emotional state of trauma. My only thing to do was to listen to her and to offer personal advice. But I'm not a counsellor, so my job is not to counsel. My job is to give you spirit communication. And I would never say that I would counsel you, because you should go and see a professional for those things, which I did. I offered her the Samaritans and breathing space and places like that you can call. And I really, I always tried to give that to her, but during that experience, it took so much from me because of how her emotional state was. She was kind of, without realizing through the Zoom call, just, I suppose, taking all of my energy, and it took all of my strength, and I was completely done that I couldn't even have our meeting that evening. And I really took about a day or so to really pull myself together, and that was strange for me, Chris, because that does not normally happen to me.
No. And, this is the kind of thing that people report to me, that, and some of these people, they're taking medications and they're saying it helps, but it doesn't help enough. This is really, really an important point I need to make to everybody. Whatever advice we give you, ever, does not mean you should ignore your doctor's advice. This is something you do in conjunction with your doctors. We are not doctors. We are not going to offer you medical advice. We can offer you tools to help you, but they are not to be instead of. I get contacted by clients who say, I'm never going to take any medication. I know I need it for this, that, and the other thing. I've got heart disease, but I don't want to be addicted. I've got severe depression, but I don't want to be addicted. I can't help you if you're not going to help yourself. And these medications are helpful. I'm not going to tell you to take opioids. I'm going to say, speak with your doctor, because that is something you do in conjunction. Western medicine and Eastern medicine can work together. Human knowledge isn't limited, and we shouldn't think of it as one or the other. It should be both. It should be a teamwork. So let's talk a bit about two more things. We only have less than 10 minutes, But let's talk about how you would suggest an empath helps themselves. And we've talked about the white light, we've talked about grounding. What else would you suggest for people, both in the moment and afterward? And then let me ask you, how do you balance a normal life with your spiritual life? Especially for you.
Yeah. To help an empath, the most wonderful thing to try is the upbeat, joyful things that you're going to do a benefit, or is meditative, peaceful, calm things you do a benefit? Which one works more for you? Like, I'm not a good meditator, so for people who can't meditate like me, I set myself a 30-second timer. So I set 30 seconds, I don't do anything, I turn off the TV, everything else, I sit and I do nothing, it dings. 30 seconds has went by, I gave myself 30 seconds today, more than I did yesterday. And so I aim to build up over a few weeks to get to 1 minute. And then I try, my whole focus is to get to 5 minutes. I can do about 1.5 minutes right now because I'm not a good meditator, but it's 1.5 minutes. And if I do it once or twice a week, great, because I've been still and present in the moment. And I just envision my energy and really become in tune with my own self and taking those breaths, just beautiful, peaceful breaths. We often think of the Buddhists and the monk. Oh, we always think they're so peaceful and calm because they meditate for hours and hours and hours, of course. And that's why they're becoming more enlightened. But also in that moment, if you're feeling this overwhelming sensation, if you're in public, just imagine all of your own energy becoming like this white light cocoon and bringing all of your energy centers in and just calming down these chakras, envisioning the auric field becoming nice and slow and still, giving that peace, the focus on that. If you're in a situation and you're in a cafe, in a restaurant, you're really overwhelmed, don't run up to someone and say, I know you're going through a terrible time, your husband is this, and please don't. Just focus on you, because their soul will take them where they need to be to get help. And so you need to make sure that you're focusing on you. Sorry.
No, I want to expand on what you were just saying. One of the things that I've told psychics that I've worked with over the years, and I've worked with thousands of them, always use the white light every morning and every night. When you're in bed at your most relaxed, you take that few moments to slowly visualize that white light growing inside of your body, spreading around, and then covering you completely after you do a few breathing exercises, just to relax and center. But then in addition, if you're an empath, when you've got this white light surrounding you, picture it with a mirrored surface on the outside. So it bounces back all that energy that people are blasting at you. So it bounces it away from you and you don't have to deal with it. Visualization is very, very important.
That's so powerful.
Also, grounding. This is something based on ionic energy and science and people with depression.
Oh, I think we may have lost Chris. I'll continue on about the focusing and the grounding of that energy, and seeing that mirror is so, like Chris was saying, the visualization is so important. So making sure that you are reflecting all of that negative and all of that stress and everything that you're feeling, it just all bounces back out. It doesn't even touch you because you're mirrored all the way around. And really focusing on you. So many times the empaths they kind of encourage this feeling because they want to have more of an understanding. So making sure that you focus that. And to finalize what Chris was saying about balancing a life as a medium and a normal person, if you want to call it that, the most wonderful thing for me is to have discipline. I set myself time, I set myself focus, so when I'm working, that I know that if I'm going to my office in Glasgow, or if I'm working on Zoom, or if I'm just doing some emails, I set myself time and I allow myself to have a detached point each day where I have no social media. And then if I'm doing my own thing where I'm having my normal life outside of being work, so you have your supernatural life and your natural, my thing is always doing something that brings me joy. Watching comedy, spending time with friends, Zoom calls, FaceTime calls with people, and it has been the most joyous thing to be disciplined. And discipline is also hard. So also making sure that we focus on that discipline and do something that's good for you. That's probably the most joyous thing. Hey, Chris.
So to psychically ground, you want to go out, you want to take some deep breaths, ground yourself with your bare feet in the ground, on real earth, on grass. And I realize in the winter, in some places, that's going to be really hard. What I suggest you do there is you put a trash can upside down on the ground so it leaves a clear spot for your feet. And you're only going to be out there for a minute or so. You're not going to die from this unless you're in North Dakota. You might lose your feet then. But I want you to take those deep breaths. I want you to then picture, and there are a number of ways to do this. I like this way a lot. You picture a white cord going down from the top of your head, straight through your body, and deep down into the earth like a lightning rod. And then picture all of that negative energy sliding down that white rod and down into the ground, into the earth to ground out. And then allow the good energy of the earth to refill you and energize you. You can do this a couple of times a day, and it really does work. I've had thousands of people tell me it does. We are running out of time. George, first, thank you so much for being on here. Can you tell me, if people want to find you, where are they going to find you? I know we talked about it earlier, but for those who are joining us late.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me today. It's been absolutely wonderful. And anyone that wants to find me, you can get me at my website, georgemedium.com, or my Instagram is @GeorgeTheMedium, where I post personal and spiritual things, inspirational posts as well, and some things that are funny. And also Facebook, you can get me at facebook.com/GeorgeTheMedium. And again, I try to reach out to people. I do live videos of conversations on all wonderful topics. And you can also reach me for appointments where my office is in Glasgow, or if you're around the world via FaceTime or Zoom.
Absolutely. And folks, I got to tell you, it is a very good thing to do. He is an amazing gentleman. He has a heart of gold. I mean, you will not find a more genuine person than George. You can also find him with me on Monday nights on our Zoom sessions. These are open to the public. Anybody can join us. Just go to our Facebook page. That's the Warren Legacy Foundation, or Chris McKinnell, of course. And every Monday we post a link so that you can join us. That's at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States, 10 p.m. in London. And you'll have to Google to find out what time that is for you. We're going to see you next week with another guest. God bless you all. Thank you again for joining us, and see you next week.